Let's talk about a Canon RF 100mm to 400mm and f5.6 to an 8 aperture range. This lens is Canon's budget telephoto lens for the Canon RF mount system. I've been using this lens for quite a while and I've used it to shoot sports, I've used it to shoot a few other things, and in this video I'm going to tell you why this lens is very important and why it's a must-have in 2025. My name is ABEiiKU. Welcome to the channel and subscribe. Let's go. So the unboxing experience for this lens is very simple, and as usual of Canon, you have the lens itself, lens dust cap, and then the lens cover. These are pretty much the things that you're going to find within the box. And inside the box you also have the warranty card, which gives you quick introspection about what to expect from this lens. As usual of Canon, being obstinate in terms of their budget range lenses, Canon do not provide any kind of lens hood for this kind of lens. So at this price point, I think that is a great service to a lot of consumers of Canon. And I think that Canon needs to pay attention to this kind of treatment that it gives to its consumers, because I believe that at this price point, you can even get budget lenses way far less expensive than this, which gives you lens hood. So Canon should take notice of this, because that has become very deliberate of them in treating their customers within the budget range. It's expedient that you buy a third-party lens hood out there. The first thing that I really like about this lens has to do with the zoom range. So this lens starts from 100mm all the way through to 400mm. Can get closer to subjects that are far and near, and so any object or subject that is within the 100mm range, you'll be able to get it. And any subject that is above 100mm all the way to 400mm, you'll be able to zoom in to this. This is an exterior zoom, so it means that the zooming does not zoom internally, so you have to zoom out. But you can see that zoom ring over here is a little bit fluid, and so it is not all that tight, so you can easily zoom into the subject near and far. One of the things that I think that makes this lens quite great is that it has the necessary button. So you have the autofocus and the manual focus switch. You also have the lock switch over there, so that you can lock it, or probably maybe in your camera bag to not try to zoom out, or when you have any kind of lens creep. So you have the image stabilization switch on this. The build of this lens is just great, considering the fact that it is built with plastic, and the plastic is not sure that it is just rough plastic. It's a plastic that gives you a lot of quality. You can see that the build of this lens is just really nice. So the weight of this lens is around 635 grams. So with a 635 grams for a telephoto lens that's zoomed from 100mm all the way to 400mm, that is just thoughtful of the manufacturers. And for me, I think that is what makes this lens enjoyable to use. Almost all the zoom lenses that you are going to find out from 100mm to 400mm are going to be quite heavy. So for example, when you take the EF version, you realize that that lens is built really robust, and because it is built with metal and alloy, it is quite heavier more than you can find on this kind of lens. And so this makes this lens shooting in daily conditions, shooting handheld and all that, becomes really enjoyable, because you're not going to have a lot of weight exerted onto your shoulders that you're going to find that this lens is heavy. You can pretty much have this lens with you all throughout the time, and you might even think that this lens is just not even existent. Relatively compare this lens to my Canon RF 24-105L lens. That lens is heavier, and I can feel all the weight on it whenever I'm using it to shoot out. This lens has weather sealing, so it has weather sealing on it, and that makes this lens just great. And let's look at the optics and then the image quality of this lens. This lens comes with 12 elements in 9 groups, and it also has 9 aperture blade, and so it means that you'll be able to get quality images out of this. This lens also comes with spectral coating, helps you to prevent flares and glares, especially when you're shooting in harsh light conditions. And I think that one of the things that I really like about the image quality of this lens is that it is able to mimic Canon's color signs, which are really punchy, vibrant, detailed, sharp. The sharpness on this lens is just really great. From 100mm, you can see that it is really tack sharp, and especially when you zoom all the way to 400mm, you're also going to find out that really sharp, especially at the center. And I don't mind that the corners tend to be a little bit softer, but you can see that this lens is impeccably great For the price point that you're getting this lens, I do not think that it is needful for anyone to even get third-party manufacturers, especially either from Sigma or Tamron. Those lenses that you need to adapt them onto the Canon RF mount, and adapting them into the Canon RF mount is something that I don't think it's ideal, considering that they might be almost in the same price bracket. And that, for me, I think that would not even guarantee you the best of stabilization, the best of image quality and optics that this lens provide. So it's not going to give you the best that you need. And for the image quality, you can see that this lens is just really great, especially with the detailed images, the sharpness, the contrastness that you're going to get from this. I like Canon's color science, and that's one of the reasons for which I shoot my pictures and all that with Canon, because in my use case, I find that Canon gives me the best of both worlds in terms of the sharpness, the details, image quality, and all that you can guarantee for this kind of lens. Let's look at the image stabilization. The image stabilization on this lens is an absolute joy to use. I think that Canon did not go wrong with this. This is one of the best examples of giving budget prices at quality. See that Canon usually, in terms of its budget lenses, uses the SCM, that's the stepping motors for its autofocus. This one does not come with a stepping motor. It uses the Nano USM motors. So the Nano USM is the ultrasonic motors that you can find on this lens. That means that it's going to give you fast autofocus, accurate, the speed, and absolute quietness that you need in terms of recording videos. So you're not going to find any kind of noise, creakiness, or any kind of thing with this kind of telephoto zoom lens. And I think that that is one of the most interesting things I've seen to date on a budget lens over here. The autofocus here is really great. It is impressive. It is fast. It is smooth. And if you use an RF Canon body, you are going to get more than 5 stops of image stabilization. So Canon gives this lens 5.5 stops of image stabilization. It's a Canon camera like the Canon R6 Mark II, or maybe the R6, the R5, the R5 Mark II, the R3, the R1. You are going to get more than 5 stops of image stabilization. Paired with the Canon R6 Mark II, you are getting an incredible amount of stabilization on this kind of lens. I use this to shoot outdoors sports, and I was able to get in handheld mode. I was able to get this kind of videos that are really quality in terms of stabilization. I think that Canon really nailed the image stabilization on this lens. One of the negatives or the downside that you're going to notice from this lens has to do with the aperture range. This is a zooming aperture range, not a constant aperture or fixed aperture. So you have the 5.6-8 aperture range on this. And I think that you are really going to struggle, especially if you shoot indoor sports with this, especially at the exterior point from the 350mm all the way to 400mm, where you are going to have the 8 aperture range over there. And that is not going to be ideal, especially when you are shooting in dimly lit situations. But I also realized that I was able to shoot basketball, volleyball, football in poorly lit conditions, and I was able to get great shots. Compared with the Canon R6 Mark II, for example, you are going to get one of the best quality images you're going to get at night, because the ISO based on the Canon R6 Mark II and other Canon cameras are just really impressive and great, and so they'll be able to handle high noise ISO range. And for me, I think that when you are shooting indoors or anything like that, if you really want to get sharp images with the Canon RF 100mm to 400mm, I think that the base shutter speed that you need to start is 1/1000, especially when you are shooting fast-paced sports action like volleyball, basketball, where you have players moving in and out swiftly. That is going to be able to provide you, even with sharp images at maybe 1100 ISO, 200 ISO, 3000 ISO, 3200 ISO. Sometimes you'll be able to even shoot 6400 ISO range with a Canon R6 Mark II paired with a Canon 100mm to 400, and that is going to give you great images. Really loved shooting with this, and I like the quality I was getting out of this. In spite of its minor flaw, which has to do with the aperture range, I'll be really been happy if Canon would come up with a second version of this lens and give it an aperture value of f5.6 to pop maybe an f6, or maybe even Canon much more generous can start with f4.5 to 5.6. That would be just great, and that can easily replace the Canon EF 100mm to 400 which has started from 4.5 to 5.6. I think that range will be very ideal, especially when shooting 9 sports and shooting 9 photography and all that. For me, I think that this lens does justice to the price point that it comes. The price around $600 to $650. This is the best budget zoom lens that you are going to find in its price bracket. I don't think that any third-party manufacturer has this kind of quality optics that you are getting out of this. This is the best thing out there. 2025, I hugely recommend this kind of lens, especially for beginner photographers, beginner landscape shooters, and people who are tight on budget and considering quality to value ratio in terms of the price point. The Canon RF 100 to 400 millimeters is the best thing out there. This lens has taught me so many things, especially in shooting with telephoto zoom lenses of this nature and size and range. If you want to really go to the premium air glass quality, it means you're going to start with 100 millimeters to 500 millimeters, which is over $2,300. When you pair it on maybe the Canon APS system, like the Canon R7, the Canon R50, the Canon R100, the Canon R10, those are going to give you even higher range in terms of the zooming, because gives you a 1.6 crop factor, and multiplying that with 100 millimeters all the way to 400 millimeters, that's going to give you extra reach in terms of the zooming. Important thing that you can find with this lens is that it comes with a 67 millimeter filter thread. So with a 67 millimeter filter thread, that is very common. It is easier to purchase those kind of threads or those kind of filters. So you are someone that really enjoys shooting in outdoors, shooting sports, shooting wildlife, landscape, and all that, is a great companion for your Canon RF system. If you are a traveler, someone who does travel photography and all that, this lens is going to give you great zooming, especially when you are doing all this kind of travel photography where you need to capture distance and far objects. This is going to be great. And for me, I think that in 2025, the Canon RF 100mm to 400mm f5.6-8 is just great for the value that you are getting out of this. My name is ABEiiKU. If you like this video, kindly subscribe to the channel, and I'm going to see you in the next video.